Hey everyone, Kim here, Abundant Life Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me for another Mystery Mystic reading. This one's a heavy one, so I'm forewarning you of that. The lives of married couple Spencer and Monique Tepe were violently taken in the wee hours of December 30th, 2025. After several calls to 911 for wellness checks, the lifeless bodies of Spencer and Monique were found in their home, along with two small children who were unharmed but crying. This beloved dentist and his wife's lives were snuffed out by bullets, with it being reported that Monique received one wound to the chest and Spencer was hit several times. It has been recently reported that a person of interest was captured on surveillance footage walking in an alley near their home following the suspected times of deaths. We will explore why this happened or motive, clues on who may be responsible, and what's next in this investigation. We have a lot to cover, friends. Let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start out with the Mildred Payne Secret Pocket Oracle. Let's see. Try not to. Pitchfork. We're looking more importantly as to motive, which can lead to clues as to who may be responsible. Is this known or on an unknown assailant, right? And also, what's next in the investigation? So those are the things. Now, a lot of people think that because there was no forced entry, that this means, we have ladder, that this assailant must have known them, but not necessarily. We've covered cases in our Mystery Mystic series where there wasn't forced entry, and it turns out that the victims didn't know the perp. So there could be a variety of reasons as to why there's no forced entry. Very much it could be that they do know this person, but I'm not wholly convinced. So this is why I wanted to come to the reading table. We have shell. Somehow they were able to get in with ease, like a shell. What should have been closed is open. Bone, will, everything is alleged in this video. Blood, hat. Okay. Now I'm going to see about zooming in a little tighter so you all can see these a little bit better. And we're going to go first to the pitchfork card. Keywords for pitchfork is rebellion, violent uprising, conflict. And when I saw pitchfork, it was like making some sort of statement, some kind of brewing conflict. Now, this could be internal conflict within the assailant or, the perpetrator, or it could be a conflict between the perp and one or both of the victims and needing to make a statement with how this whole thing transpired. Like, pitchfork. Rebellion is one of the keywords to this card. It sits over the bone card. And so this card is saying a violent uprising, some sort of conflict, some kind of symbolism to me. Like when you think of pitchforks. You think of people who are protesting and they've, got their pitchforks in the air. And so the keyword to bone is, the first keyword is mortality. And this could be like, I'm protesting something that's going on here with this family, with this man, this dentist, or with this couple. And I've got to show and demonstrate how bothered I am by it, by taking their life. The bone card also has the key meanings: leaving something behind, having something to hide, or strong foundations. This could be that the victims, one or both of the victims, had something to hide. And as we go through these readings, we will see who it emerges that is the one who has something to hide. Now, again, it could be that there's collusion going on allegedly between one or both of the victims with the perp. Also, this card can mean that there was something left behind that will link the perp to, or tie them to the crime scene. We do know that there were a few shell casings recovered. So that could be what this speaks to, right? That is key evidence here that may come into play later. But I feel like this is about the bones, who buried the bones, some kind of secrets going on here. And someone, confronting and not being happy about this, and and being very intentional about needing to take them out. Spencer and Monique. As a violent uprising, a protest of their existence, of them living. So now we go to the Rose card. And when I saw this card, it's like, oh, something of beauty or someone of beauty. Now, it could represent who, they're both gorgeous people in they're attractive, right? Spencer and Monique. But when you usually think of beauty, you think of, when you think of a flower, you think of a woman or feminine energy. So the flower card comes with the following meanings: beauty, kindness, gifts, blossoming abilities, or potential. I'm wondering, did they have a known stalker in the situation attracted to her, to Monique? I don't know. Someone taking their kindness, someone that they extended kindness to, because one of the keywords is kindness. Yeah. Blossoming abilities or potential. I don't know, but whoever this perp is, they were taken by their kindness or their beauty. Now, we have the ladder card. It says high achievements, overcoming obstacles, or stepping up in life. So metaphorically, it could be that this is someone who was on, maybe on the journey with progression and advancement with Spencer, for example. Or they are on their own trajectory upwards. And somehow the existence of this couple really, really got to them. Now, sometimes a ladder could literally be like a physical ladder, or some kind of stepping into, or going upstairs, or stepping, using a ladder, for example. And the reason I say that is because it's sitting next to the shell card. Okay. There's been a question of, since there's no forced entry, was the code access, like do they have like that automatic key access where they can punch in codes and somehow the code is broken or broken open? Was something accessed by ascending something, stairs, ladder, and forcing something, or not forcing something open, but something was open, like a shell, like this, right? Like this. The shell card has the keywords protection or withdrawal, peace of mind. So maybe someone who had the code at one point or could easily figure out the code. It gave them a false sense of security. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I don't know if this person necessarily broke and entered into their home. I could be wrong. I don't know how to interpret. I just feel like the ladder and the shell card is speaking to how this person made entry into their home. And when do they access it? Like, what's going to be critical is the records of, if there's a security system showing when was the last time the door or windows were open. Did somebody come in and they invited this person in, and then this person turns on them and then leaves? Notice that they have not released that information. Law enforcement hasn't shared like the information that they would have from their security systems of when the door opened and closed. Peace of mind is literally the first keyword to the shell card. So what gives you peace of mind? Two things come to mind for me. One is a security system. The other is someone that you're acquainted with or know and feel safe enough to suppress the security system and let them come in. Or like somehow they just have access and it's not fail-proof, this system, the security system, as one would think. In some kind of ladder. Maybe a ladder leaned up against the house at one point or another. I don't know. You have to let me know what you think. But it also, these cards can represent, metaphorically speaking, someone that they felt safe with, someone that was on the, moving up in life themselves. And so they felt safe, Monique and Spencer, with this person. Initially. Maybe that changed over time. And the reason I think there could have been a change is we have the Wheel card. The Wheel, is about cycles, endings, new beginnings, progress, travel, coming around full circle, something changing. Something changing, a cycle, a relationship, a situation in the perp's life and or the victim's life. Now we have number 8. Sacrifice is one of the key words. It can represent there was a lot of this evidence here. Also, it represents this is also some sort of key evidence, splatter, or where it's concentrated at in the home. It can represent in the past some kind of blood being spilled. One of the key words, though, is ancestry. Heritage is another. And sacrifice, life, vitality. But what I'm sensing here, that maybe this is closer to home than we think. Allegedly. When they say related by blood or... I just feel like this person, who feels vindicated by their deaths. Maybe they felt like they had to make some sacrifices, and who ended up getting a leg up in life was Spencer and Monique, and that just doesn't sit right with them. And then lastly, we have the 74 card, and that is the hat. Someone who wears many hats comes to mind. self-image or identity. They are like very consumed with that. It says a career choice or role one plays in life or a sign of respect. Could it be someone related to a career? We know that Spencer is a dentist. I don't think that Monique was working outside the home at the time of her death, so I don't know what her past work history is. We know he's a dentist. Maybe someone he went to school with, someone they, you know, considered a friend, someone who wears multiple hats. But the key words for this is what I think is directing us to some important clues about this person. I also think they didn't know the full extent of how much hatred this person had, that something shifted here, because they were kind people. Okay, they just couldn't fathom that somebody would hate them that much, hate their existence. And so that hat card speaks to that self-image or identity, a career choice or role one plays in life, a sign of respect. Who do we respect? Medical professionals, law enforcement, military, firefighters, teachers, respectable roles. Maybe they felt like they were robbed of this perp for whatever reason, and that they're owed this. Hence this sense of protest as potential motive. Now, again, there's secrets here with this bone card, and we'll see if we can delve a bit further into what that is. The secrets could relate solely just to the perp, and or to one or both of the victims. All right, we're going to stop here and move on to the next deck. Okay, so let's work with the Divine Shadow Self Oracle. What are we dealing with here in terms of shadowy emotions or aspects of this case? Clearly, there's some dark, shadowy stuff going on here to go into somebody's house and take the lives of the father and mother. We have drug. Maybe someone's on drugs. Let's see. We have callus flew out. By all accounts, Spencer and Monique were described as really warm people, so perhaps the callus card is speaking to the perp. Defensive. Okay. Withdrawn. Maybe going through with some sort of withdrawals. Since it's sitting underneath the drug. We have trauma. I'll scoot the camera down in just a moment so you can see it. One more card, Spirit. Let's see. Rebellious. Oh, that's interesting. There's something about this person or this whole thing, which is rebellious energy here. So, okay, so we got drug, callous, defensive, withdrawn, trauma, and rebellious. One of the keywords to the pitchfork card, the first one I believe is rebellion or rebellious. So there's some aspect of this that this person is kind of out of control, or I don't want to say rebellious because I used to be quite rebellious myself in my younger days. So rebellion could maybe say we're dealing with someone who just want to do their own thing. They're a rebel. They take law and life in their own hands. When I saw defensive, I got a sense that Spirit is trying to direct us as to why Spencer may have been hit so many times. A lot of people keep thinking, oh, it means that he was the target. And yes, it could very well be and come out that he was the reason why this person is in their lives. But I think it was because this perp needed to protect himself, maybe defending himself, maybe even use some kind of like, I don't know how you're going to use, you're defending yourself in their home, but if he's invited in, he could potentially. But I think what it was is that Spencer was advancing towards him, even after perhaps being shot like the first time, still advancing. So that's why there's multiple wounds to Spencer versus just the one wound to the chest for Monique. This person is callous in their general life. Maybe they have a history of drug use, prescription or street, and or both. This person is withdrawn by nature, or it could be that they were going through some sort of withdrawal, and that could really have heightened up this whole sense of rebellion and wanting to take this couple out and cause trauma. I mean, you got to be really sick to do something like this. And these babies were in there. I mean, I don't know. The world is going mad. That's what I know. But yeah, drug, withdrawn, callous, trauma. I think with the intention of, this person had the intention of, what Spirit is directing me, to go in, get in there. They got into the home and was planning to maybe only, use the weapon twice. But because of Spencer advancing towards him, and hence something about the splatter will give us more clues about this unfoldment of the crime itself. That's why there are so many wounds to Spencer versus Monique. Wow. Okay, let's move on. Okay, now we're gonna give it some additional information from this deck. Additional evidence at the scene may be discovered that has not been yet released to the public. The purpose out of the area. Okay. A witness may not be fully disclosing all of the facts. Let's do one more for now. Victim engaged in unusual behavior prior to the crime. So this is going to be where, we need to look more closely at victimology in this case. Remember how I was saying earlier, something's going on here with this bone card, the flower card, the will. This section of cards here speaks to that. And this is not, we're not victim shaming or blaming or any of the things. That's not what's going on here. It just means that there's something about perhaps the days and weeks, maybe even months ahead of the deaths that can give us clues. There's something about the victimology that we need to explore further. If you are into true crime, you all know what I mean by victimology. You're really unpacking their history. Who did they know? Who did they come across? What were they doing that we could at least glean and find out? You may not be able to find that out until way into the future with the trial, for example. But sometimes there's clues in social media, what the family members and friends start to report and say as the case goes on, in the days, weeks, and months following their deaths. So this is interesting to me. Victim engaged in unusual behavior prior to the crime. A witness may not be fully disclosing all of the facts. Who could be a witness? Now, a witness could be someone who actually heard or saw something in the wee hours of the morning near their home, for sure. It could also be witnesses who are close to the couple or close to one or both of them, who may have seen something, a behavior with someone nearby, and may not have fully disclosed for whatever motivations, whatever reasons they feel the need to not give it all up. Maybe they are withholding wittingly or unwittingly. to law enforcement, not realizing how important that part of their testimony is. Okay, so it could be something along those lines as well. And it will come out later that this is what may have been going on. So then the purpose out of the area. Now, what could be out of the area? Out of the city, out of the state, out of the country. Okay. But they're out of the area. Now, usually when this card comes up, it's saying, okay, this is following the crime. They're now out of the area. Sometimes it could mean that they may have come from a whole different area then they came, did the crime, and went back to wherever they came from. So there's another card in this deck that speaks more to that situation. But I'm thinking this is following the crime. And then lastly, additional evidence at the scene may be discovered. Now, either there has been additional evidence that has been discovered and has not been released, or additional evidence will be discovered. And it could be something to do with the security system data. It could be some additional, evidence of this perp being in that home before. It could be something to do with the forensics, okay? But additional evidence at the scene may be discovered, but may not be released for some time to protect the investigation and the integrity of it. Okay, I'm going to take a picture of these cards and we're going to move on to the next decks. Okay, so we got the Secrets Revealed True Crime Oracle. We're going to work with this deck, see if we can get some additional information about what happened or why, more importantly, and who. Alibi comes up. Somebody who is going to lean heavily on an alibi as to why they didn't do it. So that means somebody who's going to deny that they did it. It's not going to be like, oh, I've confessed, I come clean, I did this. No. This person wants to get away with it. We have informant or snitch. Okay. Retaliation, that came up there with the pitchfork card that we got earlier. Targeted victim, all right. Dating, physical altercation. This person has nothing to lose. Okay, all right. Let's do this. Okay, fugitive or on the run. Water. Liar, lies, lying in wait. Okay. Let's try this. I think we have room for another row. We'll see. I think. Oh, paranormal activity. Interesting. That's an interesting dynamic. And this deck, or this section of the deck. Affair. Dark energies. Investigation, investigator or PI. Okay. And one more. Contamination. All right, so let's see what we got here. I'm gonna have to zoom out a little and drag this down my tripod. All right, so let's go through these cards. We have alibi, jail or imprisonment, informant or snitch, and retaliation. I do get a strong sense that there's some kind of retaliation going on here. That goes with the pitchfork card that we got with the Mildred Payne Secret Pocket Oracle at the start of this reading. Perhaps there's some kind of informant or snitch situation going on when this person is ultimately imprisoned. With this alibi card, there's a few things that come up. It could mean that this person does not want to go down for this. They wanted this crime to happen. This was not like, a crime of passion. This was planned. This was targeted. But they want to remain free. So they may have an alibi that they lean heavily on, or that the alibi that's presented has holes poked in it. Or it could be that someone was hired to do this. So the person who actually is responsible for this whole crime has their hands clean, and they are resting on an alibi that, I wasn't there. I wasn't even in the area. I was out of town. That goes with the purpose out of the area. So it could be something like that, but there's something about the alibi that needs to be looked at closely. The jail or imprisonment card can represent that this person will ultimately be brought to justice at some point in the future, jail or imprisonment, or that this person has a history of imprisonment, like the perp. We'll see if there's more than one person involved in this. Could be. And the only reason I say that is just this feel that I have. I don't know if this was, someone who is helping the main perp, and we'll see how that plays out. But we have the dating card, and down here we have the affair card. So targeted victim, they were targeted. This is not some random thing. And that it seems clear by all accounts of what we've got so far in the news. Maybe someone a part of their dating history, or someone that is linked to maybe a friend that dates this other person, right? Maybe they're friends with someone who is dating the perp. Could be something like that. It doesn't necessarily mean that one or the other, Spencer or Monique, was having some sort of affair. Now, I know that I could be wrong with that, right? Because we have the dating card and the affair card down here. Physical altercation. This could be a past physical altercation. This could be an altercation between the informant or snitch that compels the informant or snitch to come forward and come clean with the information they have. It also could represent there was a physical altercation right before the deaths, right before the crime took place that took their lives. So it could be something along those lines, and evidence that has not been revealed or released to the public as of yet. Nothing to lose. This person who took their lives, who was in their home, who did this, the actual shooting, they have nothing to lose. There could be some element with that, with the drugs, withdrawn card. They feel like they have nothing to lose. And it could be also whoever helped this person also has nothing to lose. Or that, that's why I'll leave it at that. There's a potential for someone to try to go on the run, fugitive or on the run, or they have a history. The main perp has a history of going on the run or being a fugitive at one point to escape, prosecution, imprisonment. Water. This situation runs deeper than we think. It could be that, or it could be a body of water that they had to cross, or that their key evidence was dumped in. So it could actually mean water, nearby water, that needs to be searched for key evidence, weapon or clothes or other key evidence. Or it could represent this situation runs emotionally deeper than we think. Liar, lies, lying in wait. Someone was lying in wait, watching them, looking at them, stalking them. Stalking. someone who's already lied to law enforcement, someone who's withholding information. The paranormal activity could be that the ghosts of these beautiful victims come forth and help guide law enforcement or guide their loved ones to the answers that's needed to solve this case. It also could represent some other, paranormal activity, but it simply could be that the community, their loved ones are really, really hurting. A lot of people now want to know the answers. I've been following this case since about like a few days after it happened, and I kept thinking, oh, it's going to be solved by now. Surely it's going to be solved. And it's just as interesting that there's been no arrest made. So that's what prompted me to like, okay, I'll go ahead and do a reading. But in my monitoring this case, I see how many lives the Monique and Spencer touched. And so with that being said, spiritually from the other side, they want to bring about peace to their loved ones who are deeply affected and help guiding this to move along. So now we have here the affair, dark energies, investigation, PI, and contamination. There could, jump right to here, we have contamination. Some part of the scene could be contaminated. Evidence could be contaminated or come out later on that's an argument for the defense. Investigation. And the reason I say that is because it's sitting next to the investigation, investigator, or PI card. It may come to pass that the family or loved ones may need to hire someone external of the investigation to keep things going or find out additional answers. But we have here contamination. Okay, so it could be that the investigation, some aspect of it will be argued that it was contaminated or that it was in fact contaminated, which can, believe it or not, can happen easier than we think. Like, the people who, the well-meaning friends and who went into the house to confirm that something happened to Spencer and his wife. There could have been some contamination or arguments for contamination at that point, okay? We have dark energies and affair. There's something dark, some element of dark energies surrounding this case. And I'll just leave it at that. I don't know what that could mean. And when I don't know something, I just leave it at that. I don't know. I don't go guessing. I don't go pulling out this or that. If you all think you know, let me know. Now, when I look at this line of cards here, it could be that in this line of cards here, the affair, dark energies, something comes out that maybe helps us to understand the bone, the secrets a bit further. Could be that. This investigation is still very much active and unfolding. I apologize for the dog barking. My husband's leaving the house, so the dog goes crazy. But when I look at this line of cards here, I look at, okay, dating histories, an emotionally a situation that runs deep, somebody who could have had bad wishes on this family in the past, and that comes to light through the investigation. Now, it could be dark energies like dark magic, for example, but I don't think so. I think it was dark intentions that come to light. Maybe someone who wanted to have an affair or wanted to have some sort of affair. Doesn't always mean romantic, though, by the way. It could be a monetary exchange, a relationship where you think you could benefit from, and that doesn't come to pass, and then you start to have a problem with it. Or it could just simply mean that someone who is tied to the perp, who provides an alibi, who helped them to gain entry, or who helps them hide and be on the run with this fugitive card. It could be that is someone, this affair is tied to the perp, not necessarily to the victims, okay? Does that make sense? It could mean that someone who's helped them wittingly or unwittingly to try to get away with this at every step of the way. Alibi. I'm providing an alibi for you. I helped you to gain access to the victims, or to, drop you off somewhere. I helped you go on the run, and I'm connected to you that way. So it could be something along those lines. It could be that the informant or snitch is someone who dates the informant, who they confide information into that person about the main perp, and then that's how this unfolds. Okay, so that could be how that could come up, these cards here. Yes, it could mean the victims, one or both, could have had an affair. I'm not really strongly picking up on that, but that doesn't mean that's not the case. It's just I'm just not strongly picking up on that. I think that though someone in the perp's dating history or love life could be what helps to crack the case or give us more further insight into why this person did what they did. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Okay, let me pause here and snap a photo of these cards. All right, so now we're going to work with the Divine Crime Oracle. Okay, let's work with this one. Spirit, what additional guidance, insights can you share or that you think we're ready to receive about what happened to Spencer and Monique Tepe? April is of significance. Okay. I like to shuffle my larger decks in sections. Drug addict or addiction. Okay, that keeps kind of popping up. It's a theme, so we'll keep going with it. What else, Spirit? What else can you share? Maybe somebody being paid with drugs? I don't know. Overseas, local or global travel. Okay. Burn down, fire, or arson. That's alarming. We'll see what we can gather from that. I may come back and do a tarot reading, a more detailed tarot reading where we ask specific questions as this case develops. Right now, I'm just going to stick to the oracle decks, and then if necessary, do a follow-up with the detailed tarot and oracle reading. And if you all have questions you think we should post for the tarot cards or in the tarot reading, please let me know in the comments section, and I will include those questions as long as they're appropriate, right? I'll include the questions as ones I asked during the reading, because you know I'm questions based with my tarot readings. I like to ask questions and see what cards jump to each of the questions. Let's see, we have planned. December is of importance. So for now, we'll just stick to the oracle and see how things develop. Hopefully the case is solved by, and we don't even need to, or there's an arrest made, I should say. Seasoned criminal, system knowledge, repeat offender. Okay. Rubbish, landfill, dumpster, or trash. So something being discarded or thrown away. They need to check local dumpsters, nearby dumpsters. The trash in the house could also have information, evidence. Travel. Buried. Okay. Smoker. Okay. Hours. Accident. Abandoned, old, isolated barn or shed. They're kind of in an urban or suburban environment, so I don't We'll see what I pick up on there. We have truck. I'm going to scoot my tripod back so you can see all the cards. One moment. One more card, Spirit. I want one more card. I mean, we have room for one more row, but I want to keep it to just this number. Because I have a couple more decks I'm thinking about using. Guilty knowledge did the act. And we'll just set this stuff. We'll set it. Okay, I'm going to scoot. Okay, Spirit is saying, go ahead and do the last row. Zoom out so you can see all the cards. Okay, sorry, y'all. Y'all get to see all the things. All right. Let's just do any additional messages, Spirit, about what's going on here, clues as to who this may be, what's coming up next in the investigation. Okay. Intimate relationships, sex, romance, or emotional ties. Remember how I said the water card? Something runs deep here emotionally. We have van. We also have truck. Transportation, maybe a truck driver, long distance, moving from place to place. Transient even, I don't know. Tied up or bound. Okay. All right, we've got our cards here. And we're going to go through them. So we have April and December is of significance. When we get these month cards, it can represent either April in the past, so April 2025 is of significance, or April 2026 in the future is of significance, but April is of significance. It also can represent the birth month of someone close to this situation, whether it could be the victims, I'm not sure of the victims' birthdays, or it could be the perp or, you know, people in the know, key people in the know's birth months, okay? December, the same thing. And we know that this crime took place December 30th, 2025. So obviously December is at play, but it could be just the future December that's, you know, in the future what this card is speaking to. It also can represent something going on between April and December, but primarily in December, that speaks to the victimology. You remember that card that said that the victims was engaging in some odd behavior? So that coming out, you know, on or around December. Drug addict or addiction. I did a little reading. I didn't record it, but one of the cards showed a needle. And I was like, injections, something being injected. We have drug addict or addiction. So something at play here going on with that. Not quite sure yet what this could all mean. Maybe the perp has an addiction, or it comes to pass that we hear about addictions tied to this case. We'll see. Overseas, local, global travel, that makes sense because we've gotten some cards, even with this travel card, the truck, the van card, that speaks to someone traveling out of the area or coming from out of the, like from away into the area where the crime took place and leaving. Overseas, local or global travel is at play in this situation. We may hear of somebody dealing with a house fire at one time in the past, or in the future we hear of it, or someone burning evidence, or someone who's an arsonist even. Fire, you know, someone may be trying to burn some additional evidence. Something about something wanting to burn something down, so it could be metaphorically, I'm going to burn this mother up. You remember the pitchfork card that we got earlier speaks to that protesty kind of energy, like I gotta do this in my honor. I'm gonna burn something down, burning down, taking their life, along those lines. Okay, we have planned. This was planned. This was, you know, at first it looked like, oh, could this be a robbery gone wrong? But law enforcement hasn't released or said that anything was taken from the home. we do get an indication that it wasn't really a burglary or robbery situation based on what has been reported, but it hasn't been outright stated that nothing was taken. It could be a situation where something was taken, but it's not, the motive is not burglary, right? Uh-oh. Hold on, friends. I realize before I get too far, my mic, I don't yeah, sorry about that. The mic I noticed was not hooked up correctly. So glad I didn't get too far into explaining these cards before I noticed. Okay, so planned. This was planned. This was not spur of the moment. This was definitely planned out. Could have been planned from April to December or all of December. Seasoned criminal, system knowledge, repeat offender. Main perp or a perp could be a repeat offender or has a lot of system knowledge to try to escape getting, apprehended. Sitting underneath the overseas or local global travel card. They know how to get rid of evidence. We have here landfill, dumpster, trash, or rubbish. It would have, I don't know how customary it is for law enforcement to do a sweep of dumpsters that are nearby. The trash inside the house, of course, would probably be searched and collected. But to also look at landfills, because there could have been evidence taken directly to a nearby landfill, or the dumpsters, let me see. December 30th was on a Tuesday. So let's say trash is picked up on a Wednesday and taken to a nearby landfill. That could be a possibility, especially ahead of the holiday, right? I don't know, where I come from in the States, our trash pickup days were Mondays. Now, and then each of the neighborhoods have their designated day. This person who has system knowledge could know that. Key evidence destroyed, burned, thrown away. Also, evidence in the trash that could unlock a connection, a potential motive or connection between the victim or victims and the perp. Travel, buried, smoker, hours. This is the next row. This person travels back and forth, is what Spirit is saying, back and forth. Maybe even at times lives, and it seemingly almost feels like they live in their car. Or that there's key evidence in their vehicle. Maybe they have a past of being a long distance or, short distance truck driver, for example. Just an example. But travel, truck, and van, and overseas or local global travel is in this reading. So there's some element of that being of importance. Like, I know there's Columbus. I'm trying to think of other major cities in Ohio, Cincinnati, Cleveland. It could be city to city, or it could be state to state, or as they say, global. Like this person, is serious about not getting caught. Buried. The bones are buried. Secrets buried. Evidence buried, perhaps. This person, the main purpose is a smoker. Maybe there's a cigarette butt that's left near in that alleyway that has DNA. It could be that there's pictures of the perp with a cig in hand, or maybe this is how they consume their drugs, allegedly. Hours. The hours preceding, like the hours in the earlier part of the evening. What was going on in the cell phones? What was going on with the victims and or with the perp or perps? What was preceding? What is the surveillance cameras in the neighborhood pick up in the hours preceding on the day of, December 29th to December 30th? Hours preceding, hours following the crime. Accident. It could be that someone is going to get into an accident who's close to this situation, or someone had an accident, a spill, a fall, and maybe they collect some sort of disability or some sort of, I don't know, accident is at play here. Or someone might try to claim this was an accident, an accidental death. I'm not, when you're dealing with a firearm, yeah, there are instances where a firearm is discharged accidentally, but usually not. I mean, it happens. Don't get me wrong. It does happen. But not in this case. It'll be interesting to see how the accident card plays out. It could be an on-the-job accident with this person, with the accident, abandoned old barn shed or isolated house, truck. So it could be, this row is telling us this is somebody with a past, like if we ran their, we used to call it ISO. When you run their past claim history, you would see, okay, this person has a couple of workers' comp claims, or slip and falls, or one, and it was isolated, but they walk with a kind of a limp. Something's going on with their gait. We have here truck. We talked about that at length. Guilty knowledge, did the act. This person is so guilty, is knowledgeable, did the act. Could be someone who is portraying and wearing a hat, like they're innocent, they don't have anything to do with it, but they are guilty, knowledge, did the act. Intimate relationships, sex, romance, emotional ties. This card is interesting to me. We did receive the dating and affairs card in the prior with the secrets, my secrets revealed true crime oracle. We did get that, but I still I'm not getting a strong sense. You all let me know what you think. Is the motive? Do you think that the victims knew the perp, or how many perps do you feel like would be involved? Is this a solo? Now this card also, this says isolated. It could be like it's pointing to one main person. They may have had help, but the help may have been unwitting to the fact that there was this kind of crime. So, you know, there's witting help, you know, after the fact, aiding and abetting, or, you know, accomplices that are like very much in the know that they're doing it. And then there's people who help a perp and don't know. And it could be a solo. So that could be what this isolated card is saying. Could be. I don't know. Death, intimate relationships, sex, romance, emotional ties. I've discussed at length what I think that may be. Van, tied up or bound. Maybe there was an initial plan to tie up someone. Could be maybe Monique, and that fell through. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this comes about, what this card could mean. I think we have time for one or two more decks of mine that I want to use to just to wrap up some loose ends. Give me a sense that this person is just off kilter, obsessed. It could be an addiction of wanting their life, wanting to consume everything they can, gluttonous, callous, and did this heinous act. That it'll be like their partner, their intimate partner, who takes them down. As I talked about when I did the Secrets Revealed True Crime Oracle reading. I don't know. But this is interesting. Little interlude, because the sound had dropped because my mic wasn't on, the mic was having an issue, so I apologize for that. But a few important things to talk about is we got that April card and December. When we get the month cards, for me typically that means that these months, either in the past or in the future, is of significance. And it could be that the planning of the crime took place between April and December, or it could be that all of December. We know that the crime itself took place December 30th. It also, these two cards could represent people in the know or the perp themselves, like the birth month. It could be April or December. It could also just simply be that it's like, okay, something was percolating between April and December. The other thing that I wanted to touch upon before we wrap up this reading with the next decks I've got is intimate relationship. This is telling me again that there is a connection between the perp and the victim or victims. And then this person is moving, on the move. We got a lot of cards in this reading tonight over several decks indicating some form of travel. It says local or global travel overseas. Like this person has the potential to be a fugitive or go on the run. And then we have this addiction card, which I talk at length about in other parts of the reading. Maybe they were just addicted to wanting to, you know, hurt one or both of the Tepes. All right. Just wanted to say that before we move on to the final decks. Since my sound was out. Sorry about that. I hate that because then it, you know, when I do fix the mic, then the sound is booming in your ear after you had to turn it all the way up. And yeah, sorry about that, friends. We're going to work with my defining characteristics oracle. See if there's any defining characteristics or clues about the perp. Strong. Okay. Could be just a strong personality, actually physical strength, white or gray hair. Could be older than the victims. Could have some grays on them. We have nicely dressed. Okay. Sharp features, right? Expensive taste. All right. Oval face. All of a sudden, I'm starting to now circle back to, could there have been the perp, the shooter, and then the person who might be orchestrating all of this behind the scenes? Like there's going to be a fall guy, but there's somebody behind the scenes that's at play here. And the reason I say that is because we've got strong, so it could mean someone who appears to be physically strong or who has a strong presence in the Tepe's lives, or it could be someone with a strong personality, or someone who is the brawn of the like a pair of the perps, and then there's the brains, if you will, and then we have someone with white or gray hair that's in the know or involved. Premature graying, maybe someone who premature grays. Maybe they cut their hair to or dye their hair to prevent showing that they have white or gray hair. Then the reason why I'm like, could it be someone else? Because I keep feeling like the person who's responsible feels transient to me. And then there's some other person associated with all of this who's nicely dressed. I'm not saying that this perp isn't nicely dressed or has expensive taste as we have here. It just strikes me as odd. And then we have sharp features. Okay, someone with sharp features, sharp jaw, sharp nose, chin, strong like cheekbones, prominent forehead, right? Sharp features, oval face. Okay. Okay. So we have the snake card. Could be a snake kind of personality. This is Chinese astrology from the Who Clarifying Oracle deck. This person is philosophical, organized, intelligent, intuitive, elegant, attentive, mysterious, and decisive. Key birth years we have that I think could be applicable. I don't think 1941 is applicable, or 1953. There's 1965, 1977, 1989, 2001. Oh, and the year 2025 is listed here. Also 2023. These years could be at play for even just tied to the victims or the crime or the person that's involved here that did this. Admirer. Okay. Goes back to that flower card we got. Friend, acquaintance, or coworker. Oh my God. Okay. I'll just leave that there. You all let me know what y'all think of these combos of these cards, okay? A friend, acquaintance. Acquaintance could be someone who knows one or both of them, attracted to one of their attractiveness physically or, you know, personality-wise. They admire them, but is a snake. Snake personality. All right. I think we have time for one more deck, and this is from my This Time Oracle, and this is just to gauge like key timing elements, and then we're going to wrap up this particular long oracle reading because it's gone on a very long time. I'm going to definitely need to timestamp it. Yes, this was quite long, and then the case continues to go on, stretching, and you know, like no arrest into next week, we can consider doing a follow-up reading, a tarot reading, this time busting out questions in my tarot deck. Let's see what fell. Okay, so we got next month. Maybe next month, more developments, more unfoldment in the case happens. Okay, so next month is here. We have here, wait for a surprise. The element of surprise happening. Like, oh, hey, I wasn't expecting you here tonight. Come on in. Person comes on in. Or we are in for a surprise in the near future, next month. We have 9 to 12 weeks. Is of significance, 9 to 12 weeks into the future from today. I'm recording this reading, I forgot to mention it, on Wednesday, January 7th, 2026. It's like around 5:30-ish when I started PM Atlantic Standard Time. Now, 9 to 12 weeks could also represent 9 to 12 weeks going back. Key information surrounding the perp and or the victims going on. So what does that bring us to? Like a couple of months preceding December that could offer some clues about why this happened, who is responsible, you know, etc. Then we have patience is needed. This is very important. It's a lovely reminder from Spirit that this will resolve, this will settle at some point in the future, that justice will come about, but patience is needed for the investigation to be done right. Okay. There's that. Then we have 7 to 9 months. 7 to 9 months can represent into the future from the crime or into the future from today even. That developments unfold, or the totality from the time of the crime happening until an arrest is made could be 7 to 9 months, or the time from when the arrest happens to conviction. So it could mean a few different things when I'm using the timing cards, and I think about the different ways in which it's worked in my past readings, right? The experience I have with these cards. Any day now we'll get more information, I suppose. Any day now, we learn more about what was going on in the victim's life, or another clue that's given out by the law, like by law enforcement, to tip the perps to knowing, like, we're on to you. 6 months to a year. Maybe this is how long they being the victims knew of this person. I don't know. Could be. like 6 months to a year, they've had a acquaintanceship or work with this person or was friendly with this person. We did get this friend, acquaintance, or coworker. Maybe this is when this person exited their life 6 months to a year prior. It could represent something developing 6 months to a year from today. It always is interesting to see how these cards, like what ends up happening as we move into the future. I'm recording this December 7th, and then say, I don't know, July 7th, 2026, or next year, July 8th, 2027. How did this all play out? What did the cards really pick up on? That's why I like to do cards analysis, to look back at how the cards played out in some of our readings. So be sure to check those out when I publish them, because they are teaching opportunities for myself and for you, the reader who wants to explore doing these types of readings. Lastly, we got 2 to 3 years. It could represent the totality of how long they've been dealing with Spencer and or Monique with this perp, or something of significance about 2 to 3 years in that relationship. Or it could be 2 to 3 years before this whole thing really starts to come together and be done. We know that, for arrests, then going through all the judicial processes that happens, and then conviction, and then them being shipped off to jail or prison, that takes a long time. So that could be just spirit just telling us with this patience is needed card that we're in for a long ride. You would think with such a heinous crime that we would get answers immediate. And maybe some aspects we will, but some aspects in terms of justice being realized, full justice, it's going to take some time. And to that, I just want to offer my sincerest condolences to the Tepe family on both sides. I am so sorry that this has happened. I can't even begin to wrap my brain around the type of trauma, all of that you're going through right now. Those babies who right now may not fully understand the loss that they've experienced, but over time as they grow up, they will. My heart sincerely goes out to you all. There is a GoFundMe that is happening for the family to be able to support them during this time, to support the children as they, grow up, to also perhaps prepare for funeral arrangements, all the things. And so if you're called to contribute in that way financially to support the family, do it. All right, friends. Thank you so much for watching to this point. Do me a favor on your way out. Please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It really helps me. And thank you all so much for hanging with me. You all take good care of yourselves, okay? Much love to you. Bye for now.